Hi guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome to today's video. I, over the past year and a half or so, feel like I've truly and finally become the healthiest and happiest version of myself, and like I'm finally taking care of myself properly, which has been a long time coming. I've recently been talking a lot about this on my Instagram through reels. You guys may have seen that. Some of them I've posted on shorts as well. But in this video I want to share some of the key lessons and realizations I've made. So if you are struggling and you've been through something similar to me, then I really hope this video helps you, because for a long time I was in a very dark place and I didn't realize. And if not, and you just follow my journey and my life on this channel, which by the way, that's what I basically do if you're new here, then yeah, I hope this makes you smile, because it definitely makes me smile to sit here and feel like I've come a really long way. And yeah, we'll dive straight into it. So the first one comes from a full health checkup that I had last year in December. It was like a full blood test, and I also had other measurements and stuff. So I had like my waist hip ratio taken. I had to, you know, obviously see how tall I was, and fun fact, I'm not actually that tall. And I also had to step on a pair of scales, these very fancy scales where you hold these handle things and then it takes your body fat percentage and your weight. Obviously it calculates a bunch of different stuff and it put it all into graphs. But that was the first time probably in my whole entire life when I've stepped on a pair of scales and I looked at that number and I didn't care what that number was. When I was going through my eating disorder and my struggles, I was so scared of the scales. They were like one of my biggest fears. If someone had asked me to stand on a pair of scales, I would have freaked out. I probably would have started crying because I hated them that much. It was because I wasn't comfortable with my body and I saw that number in a negative light. But yeah, as I said, when I had this health check done, not only did I step on those scales and look at the number and not feel this huge sense of fear inside me, but I looked at that number and I was so proud. I was proud of myself because I no longer cared and my fear had like dissipated, but I was also so proud because I was proud of that number. I was proud of my weight. I was proud of, you know, this being me and my body in a healthy state. The second realization then is all to do with bloating and my menstrual cycle. If you are a female and you menstruate, we all have our differences. We don't all have a menstrual cycle that's 28 days, and we also get different symptoms. We'll have different period lengths, and some of us have heavy flows, some of us have lighter flows and stuff like this. But one of the things that I've realized is not unique to me, other people will probably experience this, but in my menstrual cycle, bloating is just a normal part of that. I've only really had a period for about 3 years now consistently, because before that, for like 8 years, I had amenorrhea, functional hypothalamic amenorrhea. I lost my period because I was over-exercising, under-eating, my body was super stressed, and it shut down my reproductive system. But when I think back to the time when my body was trying to give me my period again, I remember this one day feeling incredibly bloated. Like, yes, I'd had a lot of pizza, that's fine, I had a bit of a food baby, but the bloating was so intense and so severe. I was like, what the hell is going on with my body? That was one of the first signs that my body was trying to get my period back and my menstrual cycle was kicking back in, because now basically every month, and because I track my period, I can predict when I'm going to feel bloated. And when I do feel bloated, I'm like, oh, okay, so I'm in this phase of my cycle right now. My period will come in about a week to 10 days or so. And it's just normal for me. When I'm on my period, I also feel a bit bloated. Trust me, it is really kind of annoying sometimes, you know, if I'm wearing a pair of jeans and like I suddenly bloat and then they feel super uncomfortable and tight, or I just want to lie down because my body is so bloated. It is kind of frustrating sometimes, but it's a symptom that I can't get rid of. That's just me in a healthy state, and it's what my body wants to do for me. It literally looks like I have swallowed a watermelon. Okay? It's not an allergy. It's not because I've eaten. It is just my hormones doing their thing. I've come to love and accept my bloated body. And if it is a symptom for you, I know exactly how you feel when you bloat. Feel free to comment down below if you are one of these people, by the way. But yeah, it's just a normal part of my cycle. And yeah, if my body wants to make me look pregnant, even though I'm not, fine. Related to like hormones and my cycle and periods and stuff, and going back to my blood test that I had, I got my results back from that and I was really happy with them. But in terms of my hormone levels, I basically saw with my very own eyes that my hormones are perfectly imbalanced. Based on the ranges as well, I could predict where I was in my cycle, and that was correct. A few years ago, well actually quite a few years ago, because it was quite a long time since I'd had a full blood test done, I basically had no circulating estrogen. My female hormones were basically non-existent. At the time I ignored it, I didn't want to do anything about it, but now I was like, wow, that is really cool to see. It's cool to see that my body is functioning normally and healthily, and that's just come because I've worked not only on what's going on up here, but I've also reached a healthy weight, a healthy body fat percentage for me and a female. I menstruate every month, I don't miss my periods, everything is consistent, everything is functioning normally. Whereas, you know, when I was going through amenorrhea, nothing was working, and I was at risk of so many things, like osteoporosis in particular, when your bones are really weak and they fracture really easily. Okay, so the battery just died and I had to change it. The fourth one is then food guilt, which is something that has consumed me, no pun intended, for years. Again, I used to be so set in my ways with food. I used to have a very strict routine. I used to have the set foods that I would eat. I'd always be calculating like what I was eating, and I knew kind of how much I was eating. I never used to count calories, but I would just know what I would eat. And so when my routine was like thrown off a bit, like, you know, we'd go out to eat or I'd eat something a bit different, these little alarm bells would start ringing in my head. I would feel guilty because I was either eating something different or I was eating a bit more, and that again just comes with being trapped in this eating disordered mindset. Over the years, it definitely has improved a lot, but I feel like now I can finally sit here and be like, I don't remember the last time I felt guilty about food or what I ate. I can now just like eat and not think about it. I feel so like free with food, you know. I can go out to eat, I can get food on the go, I'll eat a pack of crisps, I'll eat some chocolate, I'll eat a bar and another bar and a bagel and another bagel as snacks because I'm hungry. Like, I listen to my body and I don't feel guilty about anything I put into it, and I don't always think about having the same foods every day. I'm not stuck in any kind of routine. I listen to my body and my cravings. I don't calculate anything, and I don't have any of these like thoughts that push me to either eat less the next day because I feel like I've overeaten, or like I should do more exercise to burn off the extra calories. Like, nothing comes into play anymore. It's all just about me fueling my body properly and taking care of it, listening to the cues I get, and everything just checks out. And so the next one, this realization as to like why I was always injured when it came to like running. With injuries, especially overuse injuries, because obviously we can all get unlucky, but it's probably one of three things or a combination of them. You're either doing too much, you're either not eating enough, or you're not giving your body enough time to recover. So that comes down to like sleep and rest days and enough time between your runs and your workouts. And about like a year ago, or maybe it was even less than that, I was stuck in this cycle of, you know, getting injured, going through rehab, stopping running, getting back into running, becoming injured again, and then just like that cycle was on repeat, and I didn't know how to stop it until I had that realization that, you know, overuse is caused by one of those three things or all of them, and that's probably what I was doing. I was running into those problems, again, no pun intended, but that is why I was injured. And because I know that now, I do everything to make sure that that doesn't happen. So I do eat a lot more now because I need to make sure I'm eating enough to fuel the running that I'm doing. I manage my volume now, so I'm careful to not like run loads one week and do loads of sessions and ramp everything up super quickly, because again, like, you're just gonna head towards being injured. And then the third thing is like my recovery. If I'm not recovered, my body's not going to perform as well, and I will be at a higher risk of injury. So sleep is so important for me. I know that if I don't get like at least 8 hours sleep, I'm not going to be doing great. The next one is all to do with protein. I have learned a lot about protein recently because I did lots of research for Ali's videos, so I write for Ali Abdel if you didn't know. And the key takeaway from what I learned, and it's something I've now applied to my own life, is that we actually need a lot more protein than you think. I actually made a video about this on Instagram and in short form. The current recommended daily allowance for protein is like 0.8 grams of protein per kilogram of body mass per day, but the studies do show us that that's inadequate for like all of us, no matter if you're active or you're kind of sedentary. The minimum for all of us should be 1.2 grams of protein per kilogram of body mass per day, but if you are active, you do a lot of exercise, you're wanting to build muscle, then you need at least like 1.8 to 2.2 grams of protein, again, per kilogram of body mass per day. And this is all backed up by science. There's this really cool table on a website called examine.com, which is a really cool platform to look at studies and pull data from all of them. So I don't track my protein intake. I'm not saying you should or you shouldn't, I just don't track anything, but I am very mindful of protein now. I make sure I have protein in my meals, every single meal. A lot of my snacks will have protein in. I will leave some of those links down below if you guys are interested in reading some of that stuff. Another thing that I learned about protein, and I wanted to make this as a separate point, I listen to a lot of podcasts now. I listen to a lot about like menopause and longevity and aging and healthy aging, and again, the importance of protein in that shouldn't be underestimated. Like, sarcopenia is the age-related loss of muscle mass, and it links to a lot of age-related diseases, so like Alzheimer's. It links to, you know, the increased risk of fractures and breaking your bones when you get older. So protein becomes like even more important when you get older. You need to be able to retain muscle mass if you want to age in a healthy way. It's also really important in the context of menopause. I think a lot about the fact that we save money and we put money into pension pots, but we often don't do the same with our health. So, you know, if you are saving money for the future and putting money into a pension, you should also be doing things now for your health that will have positive impacts in the future, sort of thing. But the final one kind of brings everything together. I do eat a lot more now than I used to in the past. And throughout my eating disorder and when I've struggled with all of this stuff, the biggest battle I had to fight probably was eating more. Eating more used to scare me because of the scales and food guilt, and I didn't want my period back. Whereas now I eat because I love it, and I know that if I want to get better at what I do, like running wise, strength wise, building muscle wise, and also just like sitting here and working, doing my job to help my brain function, I need food. And like my body has changed as a result of me eating more. I have gained weight and I don't look the same as I did a few years ago when I was severely under eating and over exercising. But I finally come to terms with those changes that have all taken place, and I know that my body just needs a lot more food, and it needs that amount of food to be in this healthy state. Throughout my eating disorder, I had this skewed perception of what healthy meant, and I let, you know, social media and comparison and this obsession with looking a certain way get the better of me. But, you know, now I'm in a completely different headspace, especially when it comes to like muscle building. I used to think that, you know, I could get away with just like dropping fat and then my muscles would show more and wow, I've built muscle. But it's like, no, Holly, you didn't build muscle. You just lost weight to, you know, look leaner, and that came at a huge cost. So yeah, I hope this video wasn't too rambly, and yeah, it was just a little chit chat. If you have any specific questions or video ideas or like things you'd like me to talk about in these longer videos, feel free to leave those down below. But yeah, if you want to watch another video after this, I filmed a life update recently with loads of obviously life updates in that one. But as always, I will leave you with the bloopers and speak to you very soon in another video. Bye guys. We can also flick in over to the no. Peeling back the layers and peeling the onion, we could say. I don't know why that came to my head. Hello, screen, don't leave me, please. I need screen here. The question is, do we want the head back, forwards, a little bit back, some forwards? Yeah. I feel like I still have a cold, which is super annoying.